Shemai everyone, it's JonnyVR here, back with another Doctor Who review, and today's episode was 73 Yards. And as always, I've been up at midnight to watch this episode, and if you've been watching at midnight, let me know what you think, considering it had this very spooky aspect of it, which I'll go into a bit more detail later. If you're joining on Disney Plus, where available, do let me know in the comments down below, and let me know what you think of this episode. So as always, the first part of this review will be spoiler free, and then I'll go into a bit more detail in the spoiler filled section, and I'll give you a spoiler warning then. Now, oh my gosh, 73 yards. Man, like, I can't think like how compact, how neat, how tidy this story is. How Ruby does a really good job throughout the episode. How it can be like very tense, very like throughout the episode. It has a lot of good guest cast, like a lot of different people appear in this episode, but you don't feel like it's packed, like it's too full. The people who are introduced or come into the episode, they have their time and then they move on, and gives each sort of person who comes into the episode a really good section of time. There's a wow, like what a mystery in this episode. What a what a setup. Like honestly, I feel like this episode from the very start of the episode all the way like through was like it's I mean it entices you, draws you into the episode. I think this is like Doctor Who at its very best. It like when you have sort of a premise, like the first few minutes of the episode, and then all of a sudden it just like pulls you in, like it keeps you guessing, it keeps you wondering, and Doctor Who can always do this. It'll always come up with a new idea. It'll always come up with something like this. It's different again from all of the episodes that we've had so far in this season, but like, wow. I think this might be my favorite one so far. So yeah, we had Stephen Moffat's Boom last week, which again was a really good episode, but Russell T Davies pulls out with this one. Like wow, what a, like the script, the acting, the direction, the music, the everything is like to make it really unsettling and like mysterious, and it just pulls you in. Like I'm just thinking about that all the way through. Like there's so much that I can't say because of spoilers in the spoiler free section, but I think this is Doctor Who like at its top quality. Like, you know, this is why we watch the show, and there's so many reasons like why this maybe is surprising from this episode. You know, if you're not a new like someone who's watched this episode, like these episodes before, and if you're a new viewer and you haven't come into contact with this kind of episode before, where the focus is mainly on the companion rather than the Doctor, then you will be quite surprised. But like again, the story was an incredible story, and of course I'm very happy that like there was a lot of Welsh representation there. There was a lot of like beautiful scenery like on the coastline of Wales, so I'm very happy about that. But wow, like there's so much in this episode to unpack, and I think it's one of the best in a long time. Like it probably is my favorite of this series so far. I liked it better than Boom, for just that ambience, that atmosphere it has, but easily one of the best in a long time. I can't go into any more without going into spoilers, but let's go into spoiler territory right now. So if you haven't like seen it, go watch it. Come back at the end for my score and final verdict. But yes, 73 yards. Spoilers here on in. Like, okay, so the first thing is that there is no opening titles. There's no sort of opening credits. The time voters, you don't see it. You just see 73 Yards by Russell T Davies. No opening titles. And like all of this is like from minute one adds to the suspense, like this unnerving feeling that there's something mysterious here. And then both the Doctor and Ruby come out of the TARDIS, and the Doctor steps on this, cotton and string and stuff. He then very quickly disappears, and it becomes what the Dr. Light episode where the focus is all about Ruby. And this is where Millie Gibson does an amazing job throughout this episode, as the sort of the focal point, the center point of this episode is all around her, and she carries it really well, and that's as well with the great script. Everything is sort of unnerving, and you have this woman appear, like always the same distance away, always following but not getting any closer, where they give the term semper distans, like always distance. And so this is the concept of this entire episode, and it's just like used to amazing effect, where this woman is always the same distance away. Ruby can see, but as Ruby moves closer, the woman moves closer away. And what I was going to say is that one of the key things of this episode as well is that other people can see the woman, so it's established that she's not like hallucinating or anything. Other people can see the woman, and then when they go and they can get closer, they go close to the woman, and then they look towards Ruby and they run away. And this happens a good few times, so it's very like you're aware of what's going on. And you have this Welsh pub, which is like really sort of creepy, like this. But I gotta say, they didn't. The Welsh people in the pub were a bit mean considering, but there was a lot of like underlying story there about like the conception of like the Welsh from like other people. So there's a lot in there. But anyway, what I'll focus on is this. They tell the story of Mad Jack and how this sort of fairy circle that they found and broke has released whoever Mad Jack is. And it's pretty much Ruby's left on her own then, and you have to see Ruby fend for herself. She stays in the pub a few nights. The people who go chat to the woman 73 yards away, they disappear, and then eventually she leaves the TARDIS on the cliff, and she goes back to London on the train, and all the while the woman's following her, and it's a brilliant scene of her on the train and the woman just appearing. Like, if you ever have been on a train and just looked out the window, it's the same woman at every point in like fields and cities and things like that through the window as passing by. Like, brilliant. So she comes back to London. She sort of has her life. Time passes, and you have both. First of all, you have both her parents, her mum and her gran, in the flat again. And I think again this is really good because it gives you more time to get to know them as characters. Is really good, like to have the family an active part throughout the series, which is really good. But even Ruby's mum, when she goes to chat to the woman on the phone to Ruby, looks at Ruby and runs away, and then ends up like pretty much disowning Ruby, like changing the locks of the house. Like, it's devastating, it's sad, like, and Ruby then like has to fend for herself even more. She even gets in contact with Kate from Unit, so it's, like I said, lots of people make an appearance in this episode, Kate from Unit included, and she's trying to help Ruby with the situation, again with this whole supernatural thing is becoming a bit more of on UNIT's agenda since things have been going on in the series. And so Kate goes to bring in the woman with 20 UNIT soldiers, and they all end up turning away from this woman and running away. Even Kate looks back at Ruby and then leaves, it's wild. So it's Ruby is totally alone now. And to be honest, it made me think of, if you've ever watched the Sarah Jane Adventures, The Curse of Clyde Langer. That's what it made me think of. If you've seen those episodes, maybe you'll understand that. But yeah, I felt like that. So everyone's kind of against Ruby. Everyone turns against Ruby. And then what happens is time passes, and I'm talking you see it in the time passing sequence where it's the next year later, 5 years later, 15 years later, and the woman is still following. You see the birthday cards with 40, Ruby's 40 years old now, which again, this is a bit of a limitation in the episode. She doesn't look 40. They try their best to make her look older, but she really doesn't. And she doesn't sound older either. She just sounds like Ruby, as she's 24, 25 years old. But anyway, this still that doesn't take away from the fact that you see that time has passed, and she's living her life now without the Doctor, as if that's it. And then she starts working with this company or this party, a political party called Albion, because they have Roger Ap Gwilliam, who's the member of that party and who's wants to be prime minister and stuff. And this is all in the 2040s now, right? And she gets involved. You get to learn more about who Roger Ap Gwilliam is what he wants, and again, he's a new character that's introduced, and you learn a lot about him based on the interviews that they show on him on the news and things like that. And then you find that he actually wants to buy nuclear weapons, and he's willing to use them, which is what the Doctor says at the very beginning of the episode, before before he disappears. So he's you're aware of his history before you see it happen because of that one line the Doctor says. And then you have this sort of sequence where things go well for him and his party, and then he eventually becomes prime minister, and you have basically you have Roger Ap Gwilliam on a stage in Cardiff City Stadium, and the woman, of course, is there 73 yards away, and Ruby then positions herself 73 yards away from the woman, and then can orient the woman so she's right next to Roger Ap Gwilliam, and then when she is next to Roger Ap Gwilliam, he looks at her and runs away. So then he immediately resigns, and then she changes the future. So then there's no nuclear war, that's diverted, and she lives a full life. But then that's it. The woman doesn't go away, and the Doctor never comes back. And 40 years later, so even way future, Ruby's an old woman now, a different actor now playing Ruby, because she's much older, and then right when she's presumably on her deathbed, the woman is now in the room, no probably a couple of yards in front of her at the end of the bed, and old Ruby reaches out, and then it's revealed that she becomes that woman, and then she's transported back to initial, back to the very beginning when they step out of the TARDIS. Ruby's looking at that woman, and then the woman is urging them to not step on it. So then it steps then basically she manages to divert that whole thing from ever happening, because the Doctor will never step on the fairy circle. So it all comes full circle. It's revealed that Mad Jack is released by the step, and this becomes Roger Ap Gwilliam. So it's very interesting then to see like what's going on. What I think is going on here is this is Doctor Who's explanation of like deja vu, because at the end of the episode, Ruby's like, oh, I've been to Wales 3 times, whereas before she had said she'd only been twice. And then the Doctor asks her, where was this 3rd time? And then she's like, I can't remember. Whereas in reality, she lived, like, she went to Wales, that's where the whole thing started. She lived the whole life, and like there's like some sort of echo of that whole lifetime still remaining. And I think that's like an explanation for deja vu in this case, or a form of deja vu. There was a whole life lived between like, well, in what a moment for Ruby. So yeah, I think like I love this episode like so much. The story, I thought it was captivating, I think it was not without its like, well, I don't know, like I have questions. I'm going to think about this a lot, but I have questions. Like, for example, lots of people who walked up to the woman like as a single person, then ran away, and like against Ruby. Her mum ran away. And then you have like all of the unit people who are like in close proximity, but then you have Kate, who's not even close like to that to the woman, also affected. So I'm like, how does that even work? So that's one thing that I'm going to think about for a long time. How did that work? And then the other thing is as well, it is established like very early on that Ruby goes to talk to the woman, and she what was I going to say? Yeah, she goes to talk to the woman, and the woman goes back. So you can literally see it happening as she walks towards the woman goes back, and as she walks away from the woman comes close. So in the stadium, it's not entirely clear why all of a sudden now the woman is in the stands, why Ruby has a device that can allow her to close in, because she was within 63 yards, and then she walks backwards so that it's exactly 73 yards. So I wasn't quite sure about why at that point she could close in, whereas before she had said it's always 73 yards. That's the other thing. And then the last thing is, what was the movements that she was doing? You can never like, first of all, like something like a hand on there, and then she did something with the hands, like then she shrugged her shoulders, that kind of thing. Like, I noticed that she was doing the same thing every single time, and there was no explanation for that. So I'm very curious to see all of the theories and stuff that come up from that. But wow, overall, I think that this is an amazing episode of Doctor Who. It's new. It feels like a totally fresh idea. It's executed brilliantly. It's mysterious, captivating. It's tense. Almost all the way through the episode, Millie Gibson does an amazing job to carry that through with an exceptional guest cast of actors coming in throughout the episode. There's questions that you'll think about for many, many years after this episode, and it all comes full circle. It's like, I think it's Doctor Who at its best. There is a couple of things which I mentioned in the spoiler section that do have questions. Like I do a question about a couple of things, how they went down in that episode. But overall, that doesn't take away from what this episode is and how the story is completed. I think it's another 9 out of 10 for me. 2 in a row. 73 yards. I prefer. I can't give it a 10 because of those like hanging questions, but it's very close. It's so close. But 73 yards. Wow. Easily would rewatch 100 times that. That was amazing. So again, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Let me know your theories, everything about 73 yards. Put them in the comments down below. I'd love to read them, and we can discuss, and I can respond likewise. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. I'll be here next week for another Doctor Who review. Stay tuned for more videos on this channel. Click like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, And once again, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.